The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to another GoldMine 101, our regular series of short presentations giving you hints and tips for getting the most out of GoldMine CRM. And this morning, I'm going to cover calculated fields, how to display an automatic calculation or expression or summary of some information in your GoldMine database. Hello, my name is Tim Wilmot and my company Wizard Systems. We're a specialist CRM systems supplier who help small and mid-sized organizations improve their sales productivity, marketing, and customer service through the use of simple and affordable software solutions like GoldMine. Now, this presentation will be about a quarter of an hour or so, fairly short in duration. This is just an overview of this feature of GoldMine, not meant to be in-depth training. My company, Wizard Systems, offer many extensive training options if you'd like to explore those with us. Contact details will come at the end. Now, the audio part of this presentation is one way only. If you've got any questions, please type those into the question box on your meeting control panel, and I'll do my best to answer those at the end. Probably best to type them in as you think of them rather than waiting till the very end. If any late questions come in, I will answer those after the session via email. Also on this call, I'll be giving you an update on GoldMine product news. Keep you in the loop. This call is being recorded as well. After the presentation, you will get an email from us or from our system with a link to the recording, which you can share with your colleagues and play back whenever you want to, and we'll most likely pop it up on our YouTube channel as well. Okay, so let's get started. Just a brief mention about Wizard Systems. I know many people who are listening live on the call this morning are aware of us. A few aren't. So we are Wizard Systems. We are based in the UK. We cover and support clients outside of the UK as well. All we do is CRM, and we've been involved with the GoldMine product since 1993. Since then, we've implemented well over 3,000 installations of GoldMine, and we provide a complete service around the system. Any help you need or guidance or consultancy, we provide training that can be at your place. We have a training facility also in Bristol, and of course we could do training online. And finally, we've got a responsive help desk service here ready to answer your calls to make sure you get the most out of GoldMine. So let's pop into a GoldMine system and go through calculated fields. So in this GoldMine system, I'd like to show you 3 examples of how calculated fields could be used. Firstly, a record summary. Using a CRM system, we're all about activity levels and making sure we're regularly keeping in touch with our top clients. That's the first example I'm going to show you. Second example is lead scoring. So you've got lots of leads in your GoldMine database, maybe thousands, tens of thousands of leads and customers. How do you actually prioritize your time on who to deal with in your busy day? And the third example is marketing. A lot of people are using and leveraging their CRM system for marketing these days. If you've used a CRM system for many years, it's going to be a wonderful thing for going back into and seeing how you profile and categorize these people. You should have really gathered a lot of useful information along the way, which you could use in a proactive way to market back to your customer base. So first of all, record summary. Look at this section here. So this is a GoldMine contact record. Of course, I know you're all familiar with the layout of GoldMine. So I have some fields I've created already that are calculating some kind of record summary. So when we phone a customer or a contact and we record that in GoldMine, we're prompted on whether that call is successful or not. So these 2 fields where it says last contact and last attempt, that's actually displaying a summary of that. So in this particular example, it's been 3 days since I had a positive contact, and the last time I had an attempted contact where there was no reply, or I didn't get through to the decision maker, or the outcome wasn't as I expected, was, as you can see, quite some considerable time. Thirdly, when did anyone last tinker with this record? We want to make sure our records are always up to date. They're never going to stand still. We've got to make sure they're always got the right information, correct information as well, fields filled in. So we're constantly, hopefully, updating our contact records. So that's an indication there of when the record was last updated. Of course, when it was created, and fifthly, finally, when we're scheduling follow-up activities, normally there should always be something on the go, something planned for the future with our customer record. That's just a little summary there of a description. How do those go in? Well, as an administrator, you can create these fields. So anyone that's got those kind of privileges can create new fields and display them in the top half of the screen here, or on some tabs running across the middle of the contact record. But if I actually zoom into this field here, you can start to see that there's a little expression. We're using dbase syntax for this. And down in this little white box here, this is where that dbase expression, that's the syntax that I've put in there to display that information. So if I just scroll along here, you begin to see it's fairly logical, dbase. And in fact, we do have an FAQ that we can mail out to you. So after this presentation, if you want to get more information on that, please email me, Tim, at wizard-systems.com, or our support help desk, support@wizard-systems.com, and we can send you a little white paper. But basically, that is a dbase expression that is looking at some other fields and carrying out some kind of calculation based on today's date. Of course, we always know today's date, and when we record an activity, we know when that activity took place. GoldMine knows the last time that a record was contacted and the last time we updated or amended a contact record, so a calculation can easily be created. So that's the first example. Next example, lead score. Now, this is using a combination of techniques in GoldMine, namely what's called the lookup.ini. The lookup.ini is a background file in GoldMine that you will normally never ever see, but it is actually creating some automatic updates for you. Let me take you through an example of that. So this is a lookup.ini, and it is a basic text file with some configuration settings within it. And basically what we have here is within this simple file, there are some sections, and these sections relate to a field in our GoldMine database. And this is where we are looking at, to build up that lead score, we are looking at a combination of factors. There's a basic algorithm going on in the background. And this can be, this is our own way of doing it here in this GoldMine system, but you could have something totally different in your GoldMine system. You just got to think, how could I rank? How could I weight my contacts in a logical way to help me summarize, give me a figure, heads up display of who my important contacts are. So this lookup.ini is just going through some of these fields and saying to itself, yes or no, do I have that information? Add it to the score, go on to the next field, do I have that information, and so on. So very briefly, you might see here reference to a company field. So this is basically saying to GoldMine, if I have a company entry, well, I've got an entry here, Wizard Systems, score 1. If I don't have an entry, score 0. next field down, do I have a contact entry? Well, yes, I do. Tim Wilmot, score 1, else 0. So you're building up that lead score feature there. We're also using automated processes in GoldMine as well to look at some kind of record activity. Automated processes in GoldMine is a bit like having a free sales administrator who's working 24/7. It's not on the payroll and is doing things automatically for you. Is constantly monitoring your GoldMine system, looking for things to do, carrying out calculations, creating activities, sending out emails to your customers, keeping the activity levels up outside of office hours if you want to. So a combination there of the lookup.ini and the automated process feature of GoldMine to create a nice lead score right in the middle of your screen there. So we've got 77%. Of course, the higher the percentage, hopefully the more important or the more valuable or the more complete that record might be. There may be some missing information. Maybe we don't want to concentrate our efforts on inquiries or contact records where we don't have a lot of information. We don't have a job title. We don't have a proper email address. This lead score actually looks at domains. If I've got a Gmail address or a Hotmail address or a Virgin Media, sort of email addresses that are quite easily identifiable as a personal address and not an actual company domain, maybe they rank lower. We being a B2B operation, maybe we're not B2C, so we wouldn't rank those as high as a company domain. Another example of adding that into the mix to that lead score there. Right, example number 3 down in the bottom left-hand corner here, marketing. So we do, with GoldMine, we do link to a number of email marketing platforms, IntelliClick, Gator Mail, Constant Contact, MailChimp, to name but a few. So you're spoilt for choice there and lots of options, but maybe for those people, for those GoldMine users that aren't involved in marketing, we want to keep them in the loop. We want to sort of easily identify and show to them a summary of responses to recent campaigns. So in this example here, this is actually linking to IntelliClick, and this is where we can, essentially we're looking at the summary of two types of marketing activities. Firstly, are discrete mailings that go out of the GoldMine database using IntelliClick, where in a targeted way, we can send some nice looking professional looking emails to customers, so we can actually get a record coming back into GoldMine of the number of email opens. So how many times did they open an email? And also clicks within that email. How many times did they click on a link or a URL in that email and they went to a landing page, presumably on a website? The second thing IntelliClick gives you is the ability of tracking visits to your website of existing customers and anonymous customers. So people that you haven't engaged with so far. They could be new prospects to your business. So here we have a record where you see web count. That's plucking that information from those website visits and giving me a summary. It will be displayed elsewhere. In GoldMine, we do have a campaign tab where we can see row by row all of those web visit interactions and email responses. So there you have it. Just 3 examples. I could go on. There's a lot more that GoldMine could do to bring together all of this disparate information and making sense of it and summarizing things for you and your users in very easy ways. And Wizard Systems, we're here to help you if you want us to give you a little bit of coaching or training so you know how to set these things up and tweak them. For example, the lead score. You set it up day 1. Maybe you want to change the algorithm. Maybe you're not interested in job title anymore, so you can remove it from the calculation, for example. So that's calculated fields. Now, if you've got any questions around this, I'd be more than happy in answering any of your questions. So pop those into the question section on your meeting control panel. So I'll just read out your first name. Lindsay, I saw GDPR on a screen. Is that in GoldMine as standard? We don't have that. So, okay, so GDPR, the legislation that came in recently, we saw this looming a number of years ago, and we actually introduced a range of webinars to assist our customers in preparing themselves for this legislation. And there's some simple things you can do in GoldMine with recording approvals and lead source and the security of your GoldMine system to make sure that you're on the right side of the legislation. There is, I will email you, there is a little blog article. So I mentioned the blog. Please go up to our blog. There's hundreds and hundreds of tips. It's the most active GoldMine blog in the world, with loads of free tips and hints up there. And we keep people, you subscribe to it, you get latest updates and any recent postings that we pop up there. In fact, I do have it here somewhere. There we go. There's the GoldMine blog. As I say, loads of tips and great for adding in a search and searching for some information that it will be on your mind and getting some responses from that before you call our help desk, and lots of training examples as well and how-tos all in there. Right. Yes, it's just basically, Lindsay, a configuration of your GoldMine system to answer your question. Aidan, is it possible to create an automatic call reminder for new inquiries? Yes, it is. I mean, that'd be a great example for automated processes in GoldMine. So when you add a record into your GoldMine system, this thing called automated processes, it could attach a process to a contact record. And within that process, it has one or many events that will happen in sequence. In your example, it will create a follow-up phone call. You need to think, when creating these automations and creating automatic phone calls, you need to think, who is it going to go to? Who should make that phone call? Well, it's pretty normal in a CRM database to have some kind of assigning some kind of ownership of a lead or an inquiry to a salesperson or rep or agent or whatever you call them, or a manager. And so when you do that, and there's some automatic ways of doing that as well, using that lookup.ini I mentioned earlier. For example, if you've got some kind of territories, or you allocate leads by type of client or market sector they're in. If they're in pharmaceutical, then they go to user Mary, for example. Well, that's another rule. That's something automatic that GoldMine can do for you. Maybe another fourth example of GoldMine creating these expressions, saving you time and ensuring the accuracy of your GoldMine system. So it's Aidan is automated processes. Will, we sell training courses. How can we summarize how many sessions a candidate has been on? Right. Well, so I suppose a question back to you would be, how are you? So I assume you're recording. I assume you're recording the training courses that someone has been on in your GoldMine database. So, well, well, there could be three ways actually. So you can define a field. You saw fields on my GoldMine screen. You could create fields there for a date or a date of attendance or the courses that someone's been on. That could total those up. maybe probably most people would do it as, and I don't know whether you do it this way, but you create an activity or an interaction, an historical activity, and that goes onto visible on the history tab, so you can actually see there um, all of the training courses, and of course you can code up your activities that you've done in a certain way. So it pretty easy. Might need well, that would be similar to our lead score, where we're actually totaling up things, and we're just as a as a re, as an activity is recorded, this will just add like a counter. That's the word I'm looking for. It's like a counter to increment that summary field for you. Again, yeah, brilliant idea. Good way of doing that. Right. Don't think there's yes, Steve, I got that. Thanks very much. So I don't think there's any more questions coming through. So what I'd like to do next is just keep you up to date with latest news around GoldMine. Our next GoldMine training course is next Wednesday. We have an introduction to GoldMine. If you've got any new starters in your company or anyone about to join your company that's going to be using GoldMine, great to send them on a day away from your office, away from any distractions, and have a concentrated day on GoldMine. And they come back to your office all fired up, ready to use GoldMine. Contact us for details on that. The latest release of GoldMine. GoldMine is constantly being updated. There are major fixes and incremental hot fixes through the year. The latest hot fix was number one. There is the full latest release there. We are expecting a hot fix 2 in a week's time. Stay tuned for that. Probably cover that in our next 101 session. So make sure you're subscribing to us or you're looking at our blog to get information on that. But hotfix 2 is pretty imminent, we've heard through the grapevine. So stay tuned for that. Yes, how you get updates on GoldMine. You've got the only way of getting an upgrade to GoldMine is getting a maintenance contract from us. So if you've got a maintenance contract from us, this entitles you to all the updates through the year. It's an annual term and very easy to set up. So contact us for details if you don't have one of those. We've got some new Sage 200 integration. So Sage 200 is a mid-range ERP accounting solution from Sage, and we've got some new integration coming up. We'll probably feature that in another 101 session or a webinar. Some of you out there may be using 200. We've got Sage 50 integration already, by the way. So if you're using Sage 50, there's 2 or 3 ways we can integrate to Sage 50 so that you've got visibility of top level financial information in your GoldMine database that's coming over from 50 or 200, and the ability to create orders and the like, creating transactions from GoldMine, thereby allowing your users to create these transactions and not taking up a lot. You're going to save money because Sage licenses can be quite expensive. And it's far more affordable to allow your users, if all you want your user to do is create an order or look up the accounts or how much does this customer owe you, then you've got that with that integration. So watch this space. We've also got some new postcode integration coming out with GoldMine that actually does address verification with into 240 countries, including, of course, the UK. But a great way as you type in a new inquiry or you change the postcode of a contact record or some key address information, this pop-up window that we've created will then interrogate the postcode, the address verification file, and return the address or addresses. There might be a number of addresses shared by a postcode. Together with company name information, you can then easily append or overwrite your GoldMine database with. A great way of keeping your GoldMine database up to date, postcode integration. Again, we might feature that in a 101 session. So if you've got any ideas, we're near the end now. If you've got any ideas for future topics, please email me, tim@wizard-systems.com. Thanks very much for your questions. All of you, there's our contact details or ways of interacting with us. We are putting lots of stuff up on our blog and our LinkedIn page as well. But there's our website address where you can see all of the stuff we do, wizard-systems.com or wizard-systems.co.uk. Thanks very much for your time, those listening live, and watch out for a link to the recording. We'll catch up with you soon. Thanks very much indeed. Bye-bye.